faithfully sharing value, exploring great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today I'm interpreting the book The Wisdom of Animals, subtitle Beyond Imagined Animal Intelligence. For a long time, humans have thought of themselves as the only intelligent species, the most unique existence in the world. This belief is deeply ingrained, isolating humans from the entire animal kingdom. But we often observe that animals show many smart behaviors too. When geese migrate, they adjust their formation based on wind direction, seeming to understand fluid dynamics well. Pet dogs at home can read their owners' minds and follow commands. Could it be that humans deny animal intelligence because we haven't grasped it ourselves? The book The Wisdom of Animals will shadow traditional views and guide readers to rethink animal intelligence. This book is written by primatologist Frans de Waal, a renowned Dutch psychologist, zoologist, and ecologist, named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in 2007. In this book, based on research on chimpanzees and other primates, combined with other animal groups, the author analyzes animal intelligence in tool use, language understanding, behavioral learning, and even social culture, ultimately elevating cognition to a biological level, guiding us to understand animal intelligence in the right way. Next, I'll explain the book's main content using two questions. First, why do we say animals are intelligent? Second, what's the correct way for humans to understand animal intelligence? First, let's tackle the first question. Why do we say animals are intelligent? The author answers this from two angles. One is animals' actual performance, and the other is a biological perspective. First, let's discuss animals' actual performance. The featured animals include not only our old friends, the primates, but also birds, reptiles, and even invertebrates. They show impressive skills in areas like tool use, language understanding, social interaction, cultural transmission, and even emotional expression. First, let's see how animals use tools. Making and using tools was once seen as a sign of intelligence, even considered uniquely human for a long time. But growing evidence shows animals also have the ability to use tools. The most classic example is chimpanzees using moist twigs to extract termites from termite mounds. This case appears in various textbooks, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. In the world of chimpanzees, there's even a toolkit phenomenon, meaning the combination of making and using tools. In the Gualugo Triangle of the Republic of Congo, chimpanzees might carry two twigs of different lengths for hunting. One is a sturdy stick about 1 meter long, and the other is a flexible grass stem. Chimpanzees use the long stick like a shovel to dig a hole to an ant nest, then insert the flexible grass stem into the hole. The grass stem gets bitten by ants, and chimpanzees pull it out like fishing, eat the ants clinging to it, and then reinsert it. Researchers, to collect more ants, have gathered over 1,000 chimpanzee tools. Apparently, this tool combination is very common. Chimpanzees in Gabon, Africa, use even more complex toolkits to raid bees. In this dangerous activity, they use up to 5 different tools. To get the honey hidden in underground beehives, chimpanzees use these tools in a specific order. First, they dig a hole, then use a brush-like branch to dip into the honey, and finally use bark to scoop out the honey. Chimpanzees prepare these tools before raiding the bees, meaning they can foresee what's about to happen, understand the entire process, and get ready for it. Although these tools seem quite primitive, under conditions with only stones and branches, humans themselves probably couldn't do better. De Waal points out that each chimpanzee community can use 15 to 25 different tools, and the specific types vary based on their habits and environment. For example, a chimpanzee community on an African savanna uses sharpened sticks for hunting. These spears might remind people of the times when human ancestors lived in primitive tribes. Animals, in the process of using tools, can even predict future situations in their minds and make effective plans. Italian primatologist Elisabetta Vizelberghi, while studying brown capuchin monkeys, encountered an impressive experiment. In this experiment, Vizelberghi placed peanuts in a narrow tube, fixed in place. To get the peanuts, something must be used to push them out from inside. Vizelberghi prepared various tools for several capuchin monkeys, ranging from long sticks, short sticks, to flexible rubber. After many wrong attempts, the monkeys finally chose the long stick and got the peanuts. Then, Vizelberghi increased the difficulty by adding a hole in the middle of the tube. If they pushed the peanuts in the wrong direction, the peanuts would fall into a jar that couldn't be retrieved. Eventually, a female monkey named Roberta discovered this pattern after a series of failures and successfully got the peanuts. This task wasn't easy. Human toddlers can only complete it smoothly after age 3. Chimpanzees also took this test and performed even better. They didn't need repeated trial and error like the capuchin monkeys. They could get the peanuts directly after thinking, proving primate intelligence. As we've witnessed, if we look further, you'll find that birds, reptiles, and even invertebrates also have examples of tool use. And the ancient Greeks long ago noticed the intelligence of crows. In Aesop's fables, the story of the crow using stones to raise the water level and get water from a bottle is well known. In recent studies, crows have shown intelligence far beyond our imagination. New Caledonian crows can also combine tools. In an experiment requiring them to first get a long stick with a short stick, then use the long stick to get meat, 3 out of 7 crows completed the challenge on their first try. In comparison, crocodiles seem much more sluggish, but researchers have also found bright spots in them. Alligators make traps. They use floating branches to attract water birds and then launch an ambush. If there are few branches in the water, they go far away to select branches to make traps. If we continue searching, we can even find more clues in invertebrates. Coconut octopuses near Indonesian waters carefully carry coconut shells home and use them as cover. For safe movement on the ocean floor, besides using tools, animals can also use language to express their thoughts. The most common example is parrots mimicking speech. And some parrots are so smart they can use different vocabulary, showing they can connect language with thoughts. In the ocean, dolphins are also highly intelligent creatures. They produce dolphin sounds not to show off but for social needs. Each dolphin has its own signature whistle, a high-frequency sound unique to them. In a 2015 study, dolphins could produce this whistle by age 1, establishing their identity from then on. Sometimes these whistles get mimicked by other dolphins, like a mom calling her child home for dinner. If the called dolphin hears it, they'll actually respond. This shows animals give each other names and build their own social networks. Complex animal social networks also give rise to cultural phenomena. Take chimpanzees. Their social interactions include knowledge sharing and behavior spreading, creating unique group characteristics. They even invent fashions, popular actions or games that spread through the group. Biwal described captive chimps who constantly changed their fashions. For a while, they'd form single file lines trotting rhythmically around a pole, 1 foot heavy, 1 light, swaying heads like hypnotized dancers. Other months, they obsessed over cooking, digging holes, filling them from faucets, and stirring with sticks like soup pots. They'd maintain 3 or 4 such pits, keeping half the troop busy. This happens in the wild, too. The book describes a fashion trend in Zambia's chimpanzee sanctuary. First, a female chimp stuck a grass stem in her ear, paraded with it dangling, and groomed others. Over the next few years, more chimps copied this fashion. Tool use, language, social networks, and culture prove animal intelligence, but they go further, showing near-human emotions and cognition. For example, when testing chimps, researchers play intelligence, requiring games with them. Playing the same game repeatedly distracts chimpanzees. They get bored and try to switch games with the experimenter. Another fascinating case comes from the chimpanzee group in Gombe, Tanzania, where Dutch primatologist Frans Pluet installed feeding boxes to give bananas to the chimps. Humans remotely controlled this feeding box to identify each chimpanzee and enforce strict daily quotas. When the mechanism made a click sound, it meant the box was unlocked. And the chimp could take his banana share. When one male chimp luckily unlocked his bananas, a higher-ranking male appeared. How would this lower-ranking male react? He didn't open the box to take his bananas. If he had, the high-ranking male would have snatched them. The lower-ranking male pretended nothing was happening, left the area, and sat down at a distance. The high-ranking male wasn't foolish either. He pretended to leave casually, avoiding the lower-ranking male's sight, but hid behind a distant tree to peek. Then he saw the lower-ranking male run back, open the box, and swiftly grab his bananas. This was truly a battle of wits. On one hand, both chimps showed impressive self-control and patience. On the other, they psychologically deceived each other. The lower-ranking male made the higher one think the box was still locked. The higher-ranking male made the lower one think he didn't care about the banana at all. These cases demonstrate similarities between humans and other animals. In other words, animal intelligence isn't inferior to humans. In some scenarios, they're even smarter. But even when seeing animals display intelligence, we still prefer explaining it as instinct. Deep down, we're often unwilling to acknowledge animal intelligence. And don't worry, the author provides 3 biological evidences. First, continuity of biological evolution. Second, similarity in brain structure. Third, animals' metacognition. What does that mean? What does that mean? Let's explain them one by one. First, it's undeniable that biological evolution is continuous. Humans and animals didn't suddenly appear on Earth. If we trace backwards, we all evolved from primitive organisms. If we rewind over 100,000 years, our Homo sapiens ancestors were still in Africa. If we go back several million years, our ancestors were ancient apes in the African jungles. If we rewind tens or even hundreds of millions of years, our ancestors were ancient mammals surviving in the dinosaur age. If we go back billions of years, the common ancestor of all life on Earth was likely some single-celled organism in the ocean. The process of biological evolution resembles the growth of a great tree. As time passes, branches multiply, Earth's species diversify, and humans aren't separate from this tree, just a relatively new branch. The physiological structures enabling human intelligence didn't appear magically, but gradually developed through evolution. Branches close to humans should possess similar physiological foundations. Even distant branches, thriving as they are, hold potential for developing intelligence. This is like one exceptionally sweet peach on a tree. The others won't be far behind. Thus, due to evolutionary continuity, the intelligence gap between humans and animals may be one of degree, not essence. In fact, growing behavioral and physiological evidence shows animals possess intelligence and consciousness derived from it, with some nearly matching humans. Increasing numbers of scientists are joining the ranks supporting this view. In 2012, a group of scientists co-signed a document known as the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. The declaration states clearly, given physiological and behavioral similarities between humans and other large-brain animals, there's no reason to persist in believing that consciousness is unique to humans. Ample evidence shows humans aren't the only species with neurological substrates for consciousness. Dual provides evidence in the book. For instance, the human brain weighs 1.35 kilograms, while a dolphin's is 1.5 kilograms. An elephant's brain weighs 4 kilograms, a sperm whale's 8 kilograms. And in neuron count, humans don't top the list either. An elephant's brain contains 257 billion neurons, triple that of humans. Although most are in the elephant's cerebellum, the human brain is just proportionally larger compared to other primates. In other words, the human brain isn't special. No part is exceptionally more developed than in other primates. From evolution and anatomy, we've discussed animal-human intelligence similarities. Further, DeWall believes animals can manage their own intelligence. He mentions metacognition, symbolizing higher intelligence, which is cognition about cognition, also called thinking about thinking. For example, in quiz shows, contestants pick their strongest topics, meaning they know where their knowledge lies and what they know. Similarly, we might answer, I know it but can't recall right now. In other words, I believe I know the answer even if recalling takes time. That's metacognition. Metacognition was once considered uniquely human. Yet dolphins, primates, and even rats shatter this notion. Like in monkey memory experiments, researchers show monkeys a picture, wait varying times, then have them identify it among options. Correct choices earn rewards. Before each test, monkeys can accept or decline trials. Longer delays after seeing pictures led to more refusals. Monkeys seem aware memories fade over time, or rather, they only proceed when confident. This means they know what knowledge they possess. In other words, they have metacognition. All right, this solid evidence shows animals have intelligence, not just tools, but language, social networks, culture, and near-human emotions. Moreover, the author argues for animal-human intelligence similarities through evolution, anatomy, and psychology. The continuity of biological evolution means there's no insurmountable gap between humans and animals. Additionally, the structural similarity between animal and human brains shows animals possess the physical basis for intelligence. Finally, animals have metacognition, symbolizing advanced intelligence, meaning the ability to manage their own cognition. Given this, why have humans clung to the idea of being nature's pinnacle and long refused to acknowledge animal intelligence? Humans fail to understand animal intelligence simply because we sometimes use wrong methods and miss opportunities to comprehend them. The second question we need to answer is, what's the correct way for humans to understand animal intelligence? In human interactions, we all know empathy is key. The same applies to understanding animals. If we understand animal intelligence from their perspective, everything becomes much easier. For example, when testing gibbons' tool use abilities, they performed poorly and inconsistent with their ape status and developed brains. Eventually, scientists identified the reason. Their arms became hook-like from swinging through trees, not lack of intelligence, just limited dexterity. Another case, early elephant tests expected them to pick up tools with trunks to reach food. These failed until scientists realized trunks are smell organs. Using them for tools blocks scent-based food location. When tools switched from sticks to boxes, elephants used them as step stools, like chimps stacking crates. Similarly, octopuses proved smart enough to unscrew lids, but faced another problem. When given transparent cans containing crayfish, octopuses did nothing. You might think they avoided harming crayfish, but the real issue was perception. Octopuses hunt through touch and chemical cues, not vision. If crayfish secretions were smeared on the can's exterior, they demonstrated lid unscrewing skills. That's why when understanding animal intelligence, we must shift perspectives to see them as their species truly are, without imposing human frameworks. What problems emerge when we think human-centrically instead of from animals' perspectives? The author uses two classic animal behavior schools, behaviorism and ethology, to illustrate their respective limitations. First, let's understand these schools, then examine their flaws. Behaviorism focuses solely on observable actions, viewing animal behavior as passive responses rather than conscious choices. Pavlov's dogs are the most famous example. Normally, animals only drool when seeing or smelling food. Could animals drool without food present? Russian psychologist Pavlov experimented by ringing a bell each time he fed dogs. Over time, the dogs associated bell sounds with salivation. Hearing the bell made Pavlov's dogs drool, food or not, creating a conditioned reflex, specific actions triggered by stimuli. Behaviorism builds animal research on this stimulus-response foundation. Their experiments use designed apparatuses like mazes or test chambers. Correct preset behaviors earn rewards, e.g., food. Incorrect ones bring punishments. Electric shocks, through repetition, cement behaviors into conditioned reflexes. Behaviorists believe conditioned reflexes train instinct, unrelated to intelligence or consciousness. But empathy reveals the flaw in this view. Would humans perform better in such tests? To prove superior intelligence, might we deliberately avoid food or accept shocks? Otherwise, to the experiment observer, they wouldn't appear smarter, just more foolish, because this creature couldn't even be trained for simple conditioned reflexes, worse than an earthworm. Even humans wouldn't have more choices facing such experiments. Thus, conditioned reflex experiments prove some animals possess foundations for intelligence, not their upper limits. Ethology focuses on spontaneous behaviors. For example, fixed wing fluttering when nestlings beg for food, or fish holding eggs in mouths until hatching. Ethologists believe species-specific behaviors, like physiological traits, can be broken into standardized components, like genetically pre-programmed code, identifiable and measurable. Naturally, ethologists don't attribute intelligence to animals either. They view actions as instinctive results of millennia of evolution. Author Dual argues this creates a paradox. On one hand, ethology acknowledges humans evolved from animals, a continuity in physiology and behavior. Yet regarding intelligence and consciousness, they draw a chasm between humans and all other animals, as if humans appeared abruptly, violating evolutionary continuity. Behaviorism and ethology are foundational schools for animal behavior and psychology with reasonable experimental support. They apply well to less neurologically complex species and remain influential. But alongside anthropocentrism, they've hindered objective views of animal intelligence. This summarizes the wisdom of animals. The wall demonstrates animal intelligence across fields and argues its biological validity. Our bias stems from anthropocentrism. Only equality lets us objectively recognize evolving animal intelligence, helping humans find our place in nature to seek better coexistence. All right, that wraps up our interpretation of the wisdom of animals for you. You can find the reading notes below the audio. We'll see you next time.